Langston Hughes is definitely an American hero who defined the Harlem Renaissance and African American culture in the 1900s. He did this through his innate ability to convey an accessible and relevant message. He was gifted with words and used various art forms to articulate pride for his culture and calculated criticisms of white America at the time. The poem I chose to examine was called Theme for English B. In this poem, Hughes writes a response to his English instructor's instructions of writing a page that comes out of you. The poem is in part kind of a summary of the internal struggle that African Americans dealt with at that time period. To begin this response to his instructor's instructions, he describes the differences he embodies compared to everyone else as the only black student in his class at the time, and by living in Harlem, which was the hub of African American culture in the early 1900s. After that, Hughes contrasts the previously mentioned differences with the similarities between himself and white people. He ends this section by illuminating the point that being colored does not mean he likes radically different things in life than white people do. The last section of the poem connects those first two sections in a manner that articulates what America truly is at its core. He says that being him cannot be white, but it is a part of his white instructor, obviously. He then points out that a part of him lives in his white instructor, and a part of his instructor lives within him despite him being colored. He reiterates that America is defined within that fact. Even in the times that white people despise colored people, these colored people are a part of the American experience. And the same holds true the other way around. And that is Hughes' entire point of this poem. As long as one lives in America, they must accept that the nation is defined through diversity, not white supremacy. I believe this poem has obvious ties to the Harlem Renaissance because it is making a point that colored people are here to stay, whether you like it or not. The Renaissance was all about being proud of your African American heritage. Hughes displays a deep satisfaction in that part of him, but also understands that both colored people and white people are unified through their American shared identity. I also think it is important that Hughes does not show an angry or aggressive tone in this piece, but rather a certain patience with the injustices that white people had bestowed against him and his ancestors. This patience is an example of how intelligent and wise Hughes was within his poems and his life overall. It definitely had to be a challenge for Hughes to describe his pride for his Harlem roots without alienating whites in the process. He also did not want to anger African Americans by being too nice to whites within the poem. He walks this fine line nicely by respecting both ethnicities appropriately. The reason I make this point is because a huge part of the Harlem Renaissance was the intelligent reflections and proclamations of African Americans through different techniques and art forms. For the second question, I think music is such an integral part of not only American history or African American history, but also even world history. I think what makes music so important is the universality of it and its timelessness. It is always interesting to peer into specific time periods, musical styles, and even content of that music for context into that culture and environment in that time period. With that being said, music can also be extremely personal to people. Many artists write straight from their heart, and that can make an impact on people in a very direct manner. One song that means the world to me is called Same Logic, Teeth by the band Brand New on their 2017 album Science Fiction. This song speaks to me so directly because of the lyrics and overall message that it's trying to portray. As the title alludes to, the song talks about this seemingly inevitable repeat of self-destructive behaviors. One can use the same logic that got you into trouble in the first place, as the chorus reads, to get you out of trouble and then right back into that same trouble again. It's kind of a never-ending struggle. The song talks about self-harm as the trouble that that the singer keeps returning to repeatedly. This is a relevant topic to me because I've had a long struggle with self-harm, especially over the last 3 years. Just as this song mentions using masks and disguises to hide the real you, I would never show my scars because I was afraid of being judged. I was in my own personal cycle of self-defeating behaviors where I would get clean for a bit and then repeat the same behaviors that I had just stopped. It's easy to convince yourself to do something by using the same logic that worked before. The song speaks about using the same logic to heal and to hurt, and that's kind of the human condition at its core. I would use that logic, even if it was flawed, to repeat my mistakes and rationalize my negative thoughts. This song came to me at a perfect time because 2017 and 2018 were the worst of my struggles, and I had to become aware of my patterns to make a meaningful change in my life. I'm in a much better place now, thank God, and because of hard work and self-awareness and understanding, that's how I got in this better place. This song was and is a comfort to me because I felt understood by someone else. Self-harm has been a large part of my identity over the past 3 years, but I'm trying now to turn around as a positive by helping others who may feel alone in self-harm. And that's exactly what Brand New, this band, did by making this song and sharing their knowledge and compassion with listeners like me who needed that in times of need.